Jake, how you doing, brother? Welcome to Pros and Cons.
Thank
Glad to
you,
have
sir.
you here, and let's roll out the struggle hustle.
Sounds good, man. I appreciate being here. Been waiting for this opportunity for a while, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I've known you for a long time. I've known you since our preteen days. Skipping school,
Yeah,
getting my butt whooped. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Because
man.
of it, I never miss another day.
Yeah, yeah.
We've been through a lot, and I really, really know that this is going to be a great podcast, a great show today. Let's shoot it. As a Puerto Rican from the projects, usually there's only Puerto Rican and black people around. So when I see a white boy moving to the neighborhood,
Yeah.
I got to know what's going on here. You know what I'm saying? So definitely, I have come to realize that when a white boy moves into the neighborhood, he's not your typical white boy. You're a little bit more hardened. You're a little
Yeah.
bit more seasoned. And let's roll it out. So go ahead. If start there. Start when you moved into the neighborhood.
Well, before I moved into our neighborhood, when we grew up together, my first entrance was downtown, right around the corner here off of Central Avenue, Sunrise Towers, apartment 112. So that was my first experience. We rented, my mom and my brother. We came down here from up north, and then obviously we never seen the place or nothing like that. We were low budget, low income. We just moved into a place, and then, man, it was so different, man. So I had to adapt pretty quick. And yeah, I mean, it was a whole culture shock, just to be straightforward, because up where I'm coming from, we didn't have the diversity that is down here. So that was, like I said, pretty different. But, had to adapt and did so. And then after that, we were there for probably 4 years there. Then we moved to our old stomping grounds.
Yeah, and I actually know that apartment complex pretty well. I remember the first time I went in there, I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
there's piss in the elevator.
Yeah, pissy hallways. Yeah, that's what they used to call it, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was yeah, that was different.
So the same thing there. Pretty
Yeah.
much the white family in the
Correct.
typical black Spanish neighborhood.
Right. No, yeah, that one was probably more, I'd say, more the black community than
Right.
any Spanish, just to be straightforward.
Yeah.
It was probably 90% black, which is, I mean, whatever, you know what I mean? But it was just a culture shock. And then when we moved into our stomping grounds, it was more diverse with the black and Hispanic culture. And again, still the only white family, or
Yeah.
one of the only white families there. But I mean, I had some of the best times of my life there, and after a while you earn the respect, that you're supposed to earn, I guess, or not supposed to, but you just earn it over time. Like, hey, after a while, they don't see you as a white boy no more. They just see you as the family, and that's pretty much how it was. It took a lot to get there, but we're there, and here we are now. So,
Yep. So you grow up. It's you, your mom,
yep, my brother.
your mom, your brother, and you start. Now you're in it. You're seeing the life going around you. You seeing them. You seeing people. You seeing the ones that got it, the ones that don't.
Right.
You obviously seen the struggle.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
We definitely seen the struggle
For
where
sure.
we came from, and you didn't want to have nothing to do with that. Your mind was set on your mind. You was a millionaire.
Yeah.
Eating out of sardine cans at the time, but you knew where you were going really quick. Where did it lead you to?
Well, there was a defining moment. It's funny you mentioned that as far as, I was already a millionaire in my head. There was a defining moment, and it was in a transition before we moved from Sunrise Towers to where we were. We had to stay at a pop-up camper at one of the people at our church at the time. And I remember watching the Dallas Cowboys win the Super Bowl in this pop-up, camper with the TV I'd hit on to get a picture, And I just remembered, and I looked around, and I was like, I'm never going to live like this when I get older. You know what I mean? So that was like my defining moment. And man, after that, I was working since the age of 12. I mean, I started dust mopping floors. I worked at McDonald's when I was 14. I mean, I held that job till I was 16. Then I had Kmart. Oh, dude, I've done everything. Anything I could do to make money. And I did it all. And No regrets because I have developed a really strong work ethic over that. But, when you do all that type of stuff, you lose focus on certain things such as education, for instance. I didn't care about school. All I cared about was getting money because that's was in my head, and it was so important to me that, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I'm not an educated person. That's not what I'm getting at. I'm not saying that you have to go to school to be educated, so I'm not stating that either. What I'm simply stating is sometimes you get caught in chasing the dollar that you don't realize that there's more important things and that money is just an illusion. Don't get me wrong, you need it to breathe just like air, but it's not the number one essential thing in life that people should be chasing, in my opinion.
When you come from that not having,
Right.
money means so much that you really you don't realize the value is the real key, and the money will follow.
Correct.
And we just wanted to have it.
Yeah.
And if we had it, we had it on.
Oh, yeah.
If we had it, we had it. We had a gold chain. We had them Jordans.
What?
We wearing it.
Thanks.
And so you prioritized the money before the value.
Correct.
And I think that's an illusion that we all fall into. And then eventually we realize, well, you can only make so. McDonald's is only going to pay you so much. You can only make so many hours. You can only do so much in a day. And then you realize, well, if this is how much my parents are making, my peers are making, my neighbors are making, and they're in this situation, I got to do something different.
Right. Yeah, well, doing things different don't always mean they're right, but being young, sometimes your patience ain't there, man, because you don't have the wisdom or the knowledge to go in the right path that could lead you down a better path versus the path that I chose, which was hitting the streets hard, starting with nickel and dime things, going up to a whole different other level of things, and if I could change it, I wouldn't, because you wouldn't see the person that you see in front of you today. I'm very happy of the person that is in front of you today, and I'm very happy that I may have an influence to help guide somebody else to do things the way I wish somebody would have been able to help me do that.
I think the greatest entrepreneurs are the ones, if you can be a hustler and take nothing and turn it into something, then the world is wide open for you.
Yeah, 100%.
And a lot of people sadly either get knocked off, something happens, and it kind of really makes it hard for their future. But if you can get out of that and lead into something else, that's good. So now you're a teenager, you've had a couple jobs, you work at the local Kmart, which I also worked at.
Yeah.
And you worked at McDonald's. But there's only 7 days.
It's only 7 days.
There's only 7 days, and $5.50, $6 an hour can only get you so far.
Yep.
And then you're like, I got to do something. So now, naturally, the ones that have the bug, we want to flip that check.
Yep.
So you're taking that check. Now you're going. You might get something. You might get the rest on the front.
Right.
But you're gonna make it happen.
Oh yeah.
So you're nickel and diming. You're probably middle school, high school at this time, and where you at?
Well, I dropped out of high school, 16. As soon as I could, I did it.
So you chased the bag full time?
Oh, full time. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, stopped school.
Nickel and diamond led to
bigger things.
Yeah,
bigger things.
Different colors. Green.
Yep.
White.
Yep.
Wherever it took you. And we're not here to glorify those things.
No,
we're
not
here
at all.
To get the story out, because the key to this conversation is to let other people know that you can go from that to something else. That is literally the point of this podcast, to understand that we can take the hustle mentality and flip the product, and you are literally just an entrepreneur. You might not have been in the right,
correct,
in the right scenario. You might not have been we might think we're a product of our environment, and to an extent that is so true, because when I look to the left and I see who got it, I'm looking at what they're doing to get it, and I'm gonna do that. And if you got that, and if you got access to that, and you can you can put me on. I want to get put on.
Oh yeah.
So now you dropped out of school. You know how important your education is, but you ain't making no money at school, so you don't understand the point of that. When I'm actually bringing in money, then you get to a point where I'm sure you're bringing in. We're almost like at 16, you become the head of your household, and you are bringing in what somebody that's working a 40-hour shift is bringing in, or more, doing this. So you becoming good at that, and that leads you into a path. What happens at that time?
Well, after I dropped out of school, obviously I was getting the bag, like we say. I moved to Orlando for temporary, for a little bit. Stayed with one of my friends, like my brother Ricky, God rest his soul. Another story for a different time, I guess. Came back down here, still running hard. At that point, I had to leave my house when I was 16 because my mother had a boyfriend at the time, and he was addicted to drugs, and it was just getting too much for me. I had to bounce. Like, I just couldn't tolerate it no more. And again, there's a lot that goes with that as well, because without him, he used to be a professional boxer. Played football in college with Deion Sanders. I mean, he's not a nobody. He had ESPN fights and stuff like this. He unfortunately let his habit lead him down the path there was no returning back from.
And do you feel like, and I know this is a tough question because in the moment, we don't want to take that responsibility.
Sure.
But do you feel like what you were doing and watching that, where I'm pushing this and I'm making money off of this, but literally in the same household that I live in, I see the destruction that's coming from that. Did that resonate with you at the time, or was your greed over getting the bag more important than seeing, wait a minute, I'm literally reaping what I sow, and or with my mother in her relationship?
I wish I could show you. I just had like goosebumps, crazy. No, 100% correct. At that time, I did see it, but I didn't see it the way I should have saw it, if that makes sense. Matter of fact, when I was doing my thing and I would pitch softballs, I would never pitch hardballs. You know what I'm saying? Because into my head, that was justifying what you just asked.
Right.
I was like, okay, if I do this and they do what they want to do with it, they could do whatever they want to do with it. But if I'm not giving it to them like this, then, hey, I ain't doing it. It was kind of like a scapegoat,
I sold every color under the sun.
I get you.
But my father died. My father caught hepatitis C from sharing needles when I was a year old. He died when I was 6. He was 26. I always justify by saying, I'm not going to sell heroin.
Right.
So because I never sold boy, I felt like, well, this is okay.
Right.
I'm not going to do that because I saw this. And to me, that's how I dealt with it. Like, well, no, I don't do that.
Right.
I don't want that type of, that's a negative.
Yeah.
But this over here is okay.
Right.
So we fall into the situation of, and the hardest part is when we have the conscience and we know that what we're doing is not right. We know that we're still affecting families. I have a close friend of mine that you are friends with that, we went from the softball to selling hard, and we didn't even know how to cook it.
Right.
We had to go somewhere else to a friend and get him to cook it and then come back. And then we were literally selling it to his family members, and we knew the situation and we knew what the destruction it was doing to the house.
Right.
But we didn't care.
Right.
We were just trying to get paid. And when Friday came back around, we were trying to get paid again. And if we had to front it out and take the whole next week, we were doing that all over again.
Yep.
And we would do that as far as we could until, and it brought problems back to the house.
Oh, yeah.
And it cut, it put divides between certain people. And in the moment, did I know what I was doing was wrong? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Did I care?
Nope.
Not really.
I feel you.
And I feel bad about it now. I have remorse for it today. People are thriving and people are good, but I was so caught up in just trying to get that $20.
Yeah.
And bring it back and bring it back and bring it back, you know, and I could do that to you all day long.
Yep.
You know, and I knew it was destroying the family. So it's a tough pill to swallow to be in this world.
For sure.
Seeing it in your own household and then, you know, justifying. Because that is a bad habit of what we end up doing for, well, you know, I got to do what I got to do. You know what I'm saying? So, all right. So now you're doing what you got to do. You're not playing all the fields.
Right.
Because I'm not gonna do that. I see what that does.
Yeah. But
this is cool.
Right.
This is okay.
Right.
But this is still destroying lives at the same time, you know, and that's a whole other topic. That's another subject.
Right. Yeah.
So where we at now? Where, you know, now you're leading into being, you come back from Orlando. You've had a friend that obviously there's a story there that we gotta have to peel that onion back.
Yeah.
And he's passed away.
Right.
You know, you're a little more hardened.
Yeah.
A little bit more tougher. You know, you a little bit more probably colder to certain things.
Yeah.
And now you're probably hitting it harder than ever.
Yeah,
you know,
man.
just because we'll say you're wide open.
You're very wide open, man. I woke, I guess you could say, as far as that's concerned. Yeah, man. So now I'm back. Just at that time I came back. I think I was 17 when I came back. Got a place in Pine Manor. 2nd Street first, 5th Street, I think 8th Street. Had a whole bunch of places out there. Just down low, you know, just doing my thing. Trapping. But yeah, and you know, but after that, moved out to Palm Beach. Still had things going on there. Whatever, you know, didn't really care anymore, you know, as far as that, because didn't have that mindset. So then I went back to working again.
Okay.
Right. Because I started realizing, man, what am I going to do with this money? I can't, you know, I didn't realize that until one time I went to get an apartment in Gulfstream Isles. And they were like,
you have no work history.
They're like, you got, I was like, no, but here's $4,000. Like, can I move in? You know, or not even 4. I think back then it was like $2,500 or something like that, first, last security and a pet deposit or something like that.
And we always come up with the notion that cash is king.
Cash is not king.
Cash is not king.
Credit is king.
Correct.
100%. Credit is king. I wish I would have known that. Well, I wish I would have known that back then, because man, I would have leveraged my credit super hard. You know what I mean? And then I would, but again, you can't, you could say that, right? But you can't really think like that, because it's impossible to know that stuff when you have, like you were saying earlier, you have no guide. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? No guide to show you that path, right? So, you know, instead of me watching one of my mentors, I guess you could say, because a mentor is still a mentor. It doesn't matter what trade it is, you know? So watching one of my mentors, instead of that mentor who taught me the whole game, which took me to a different level, I mean, bro, it was crazy when I was on the top of my game, you know? I was 25, 30,000 a week, no problem. You know what I mean? Easy, maybe more. Spent so much money, didn't even know what to do with it. Like dumb stuff, you know? If I would have just saved 10% of the money I wasted, bro, and put that in, and you know, like a life insurance policy or something like that, bro, I wouldn't be here right now, because I would probably be on an island chilling somewhere. You know what I mean? But again, back to that, the mentor, right? So if I would have had, you know, a mentor like myself right now, back then we wouldn't be here, because that person that you see now wouldn't exist, because I would head the person that I need and been the person I should be.
But you didn't have it. So now you're 30 bands a week. You can't even get a $2,500 apartment.
Can't even get a $2,500 apartment.
You got to go and do the circle.
The okie doke.
The okie doke.
Yep.
Get it under somebody else's name.
Some razzle dazzle, baby.
There you go. So now you went back and you got a job.
Right.
You say, you know what? I got to clean some of this situation up. I got to be able to get some stuff on the books, get a W-2.
Right.
It's a big, people don't realize how important having a W-2 is, because you can have all the cash in the world and can't go buy something,
right.
You know. When the economy hit one time, same thing. I had, you know, I went to an auction and they had apartments. I brought 60 bands. You know, you got to bring the cash before you go in there. I brought 60,000. I bought an apartment out in Lehigh, and for like 15,000, 20,000. It was low. It was cheap. and there was, outright. And when I went I said, well, you can't because you have cash.
Mm-hmm.
We need to have it in an account.
Mm-hmm.
I said, well, I don't have an account.
Right.
I didn't even have a bank account.
Yep.
And so that kind of like, that was the issue. So I realize how important that is, and I understand where you're going with that. So you're working. Where'd you get a job at?
Man, I don't want to say the name of the company,
Okay.
but I worked.
What type of work was
it was an AC company.
All right.
Doing maintenance. Hated it, bro. Straight hated it. But I was trying to make a change, and also cover myself. You know what I mean? Because at that point in time, bro, it was just getting. I couldn't hide it. Because I was just being stupid.
Yeah. You got the car, you got the rims.
Yeah, I'm like 19, 20, bro, killing it. You know what I mean? And I'm just like,
you got nowhere to put it.
Yeah, I'm like, what do I do? You know what I mean? I'm like, I like that truck. Yeah, I'm buy that truck. And that's kind of how I got into the place where I'm at now. But, but I was just blowing money fast, man. BMF, and I had no paper trail. So that apartment made me get the paper trail. The paper trail led me to the AC company. Hated it. Still worked through it. Until one day I was in a house off of Gordon Boulevard in Naples, and it wasn't a nice house. Like, it was on the left side of the road, not the right side of the road. So yeah, but it's still probably $2 million house, but anyways, but it had a small attic. I'm a big guy, and back then I was same size, you know what I mean? So it had a little crawl space, and I'm crawling through this attic to get to the air handler, and me, not paying attention because all I'm trying to do is do my job, get the hell out of there because I didn't like what I was doing, just trying to get out of there. The air handler, for those who don't know, has two sides. One is like, in, out, does stuff like that. But on one side, it also has a heating element. So I look at the ductwork, and there's already a cutout, which is normally a sign that where we clean the coils at. So I just seen the cutout, pulled it back. Usually what I did was, back in the day, I reached my hand to feel how slimy the coil was so I would know what chemical to use or whatnot. Reach in, boom, nope, hit the heating element. Don't even remember. I just remember waking up to my Nextel at that time, beeping, boo-doo-doo, or whatever, you know what I mean? And I'm just like I like landed over like some truss. So I'm like laid out in insulation, and I hear my Nextel. I wake up. I'm like, oh, they're like, where are you at? You're late for your next appointment. I was like, yeah, I just got hit with 220. I was like shaking. You know what I mean? She's like, well, you need to hurry up and go to your next appointment. They're calling, complaining. I'm just like,
you just died in the attic.
Yeah, I'm like drenched, soaked, like, because summertime. We're in an attic in Florida. For those who don't know what that is, that's like 130 degrees. You know what I mean? Drenched and soaked. Just drenched, soaked. And I was like, I just got hit with 220. And she's like, I don't care if you got hit with 400. I'm like, is there a 400? But she's like, I don't care if you got hit with 400. She's like, you need to get to your next appointment. I was like, beep. I was like, I just sold her out. And I was like, come get your van. I called my buddy, came pick me up. Left their van, left everything in it on the side of the road, locked the keys in it. See you later, never looked back. And after that, I realized I needed to find something that I like to do. And I already found that. And I went right back to that again. Paper trail didn't matter at that point because then I figured a way to get around
absolutely so
what
now,
I needed.
So now you got a little bit more educated in things that weren't working when you were in it the first time. You try to do something different.
Right.
But because you could get to the bag so much faster, so much easier, and you create a authority issue, right? And it's a problem that we tend to have. When we become the boss of our world, then who's going to tell us anything?
Right. 100%.
And then when we try to go work somewhere, and they treat us, like we're just a number, like naturally you want to go into that. You fall right back to what you know. But now you're playing a little bit smarter.
Right. Well, let me clarify one thing. The way my vision and my thought process was on that matter was that, bitch, I almost died in an attic. I ain't never almost died in the streets.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I was like, fuck this. I'm
I
out
was
of here.
I was safer in the streets than I wasn't here.
Right. I'm
And you
like,
would think it's vice versa.
yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? But so that was my thought process. I was just like, fuck this. I'm out of here. You know what I mean? And that's what I did. So I went back, boom, hitting hard. But now I found a way around what I had an issue with before, because like you said, I was educated more and knew what more or less how to get around that without saying too much, you know. But yeah, so then boom, back in the game. Boom, 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 boom.
So you can find a way to clean the money, one way or another.
Nah, I mean, I wouldn't say it was cleaning money, but it was my money and it was legit.
Right. Fair enough. So what happened next?
So after that, just started running again, man, real hard. I had a good run. Again, dumb stuff, spending money. Didn't learn that yet, you know. And at that time, I was with somebody who didn't have nothing. So, of course, it all fell back on me. That's why choosing the right partner in life matters a lot. And we'll get. I guess we'll.
No, I love that you're saying that.
But it's true. It's very true.
Sometimes, you know, we hear this from people in a different world.
Right.
You know, you got the older guy in a different generation that he's dropping that.
Yeah.
But that you realize that very young, like, wait a minute, you know, it's all on my shoulders.
Right.
That puts that much more stress on you to have to figure it out.
Right.
And if you may have chose a partner at that time that may not have said, well, you know what, like, yeah, we need the money. Go ahead, you know, and it's pushing you and eager, you know, and encouraging you to do the wrong thing just for their personal benefit,
right? And
not saying, well, if I got, you know, if he gets jammed up,
then
I'll be
what?
by myself,
right?
You know, almost like they don't care as long as you're providing to the max,
right?
You know, I got the bag, I got the purse, I got the shoes, I got the red bottoms, I got this, I got the beautiful car. But if, you know, it only takes one time for me to fall, for me to, you know, for
it all to stop.
I can get fired from the AC company 10 times.
Right.
And go find another one on the 11th time. I only got to get fired one time.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm cooked.
Yeah.
You know, so the fact that when we have people, because I've been there, and it's almost seems like they don't care, you know, and that I'm risking it all. I'm doing it anyways.
Right.
I'm doing it anyways. But it's a lot easier to do it when you're supporting that.
Right.
You know, instead of setting a woman that's a real woman, says, I'm going to set a boundary. And you know what? If you want me to be your partner, then I don't want my child to be without a father.
Right.
I don't want my child to get possibly hurt in the street. You know, my child's father to get hurt in the streets, go to jail, do that life. You know, I need you to take a step back, whether that is put your tail between your legs and say, I'm going to get a job that pays a fraction of what I can do here, and then with time increase my skills and become the person I need to become. It's easier to stay doing what you're doing when,
for sure,
you know, the person that's backing you up is, you know, just waiting for you to bring cash home.
Yeah, 100%. And man, was that the case, you know? And, you know, don't get me wrong, I believe every person that interacts in your life serves a purpose. Some people have a longer purpose. Some people have a shorter term in life with you and your relationship, or meaning any relationship, not saying partner or whatever, you know, just any relationship that you interact with people. I believe people have their part or position, and it either goes to a different level, stops, stays the same. I mean, I got people that I have in my life that I mess with here, but I got people in my life I'll give them my whole arm to. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's part of growing up and realizing that, you know, one of my other boys who passed away, God bless the dead too, he always told me, he's like, Jake, can't be mad at people for not being like you. And I was like, man, what do you mean? How can I not be mad? I was like, look, I just did this. I did this. I did this. I did this. It's like, bro, you know, you're mad because you want them to be like you and give what you give. He's like, that's never going to happen in life. And this is somebody who was actually a year younger than me. You know what I mean? He dropped a gem on me when
right.
but man, that was years ago, and it still sticks in my head. I can still hear him tell me that, because sometimes when I get mad at people, I'll just sit there and I was like, man, like, then I analyze it. I'm like, man, you know what? It is what it is, right? So I can't sit here and be mad at this person for not seeing the way I see or doing what I would do or moving the way I would move because they're not me.
There's a reason that you're you.
Right.
There's a reason that people fuck with you or love you or hate you.
Right.
Because of who you are. And we get caught up in the expectations of other people.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to do things without expecting anything from them because they'll do you wrong every time.
For sure.
You know, because if you have no expectation, then anything that happens past that is all fair. It's all good game.
Right.
You know, if you did something back or if I let you borrow $20 or you paid it back, great. But if you didn't, cool. Because at the end of the day, you know, we hold expectations on people and then we're going to get let down every time for the most part.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that $20 lending thing, right? I got anybody who knows me who's like one of my boys or like a brother to me or something like that, they know me very well. So I got an expression, right? I call paid in full, right? Because I would much rather loan you $20, right? And you never pay me back and I never have to deal with you again.
Right.
Because that 20 could have been $2,000. You just didn't know it. You know what I mean? But you asked me for 20, you never paid me back. Bro, you are done, bro. Like, I don't need you in my life. I don't need that energy in my life, man. I got to protect my energy at all costs, bro, because my energy nowadays is rare for, you know, me to help people. And if I do and you take advantage of that, you're gone, bro. I don't need that.
It only costs you 20.
It only cost me 20. Save me 1980.
Yep, exactly. There's actually a Spanish saying that's the same way that we live by, you know. And the fact that you recognize those things early in your life is a really good thing. Now you're in a time in your life where you're back in the streets.
Mm-hmm.
You got the girl that's waiting for you to bring home the bacon at any cost. She don't care. You have kids by this time?
Yeah. Just born.
Okay, so you got a brand new baby. You got somebody that's not working, that's depending completely 100% on whatever you do in the streets to bring it back.
Mm-hmm.
You're good at it.
Right.
Where does it
go bad?
Yeah. They say you got to drop down on your knees to look up to the sky.
Very true.
So there's always that.
I like that.
There's always that rock bottom.
Yeah.
That and everybody's rock bottom is different, looks different.
Yeah.
You know, but where was it that shift changes?
So
because right now you're on top of the world.
Right. Yeah. So I think what happened. I'm trying to remember the sequence of how it happened, what happened first and whatnot. But I want to say that there was a incident where things out here were kind of dry and went against my gut, yada, yada, boom, robbed, whatever, almost died. Gun in my face, jammed. I'm in my BMW 750 Li, jammed. You know what I mean? Just crazy. And I stepped back after that. It was a series of events that happened very close within each other. So that happened. And then one night, my buddy who passed away, he wanted to hang out. And I've been running like nonstop. You know what I mean? And I was like, bro, I'm so tired, bro. Like, I really just want to go to sleep, man. I'm just like, you know, not tonight, bro. You know, let's do something tomorrow. Let's do something tomorrow. So he goes out that night and goes to an after party, and somebody let him drive home drunk. North Fort Myers, Moody River. And I guess it was foggy or whatnot, and missed a turn and just drove straight into the water. That was it.
Moody River is all S-curve streets.
Right.
So if you're not paying attention, you will literally...
Yeah, especially in the fog, yeah.
Right. God bless that situation.
Yeah, man. So, so that happened.
So you just got robbed, almost killed.
Yep.
If it wasn't for a gun jamming up...
Yeah, I wouldn't be here.
You wouldn't be here right now.
No.
You're moving fast.
Still.
Moving super fast. Obviously, in a drought, you know, you need to catch whatever you can and do whatever you can do. Your friend just dodged another bullet. Mm-hmm. Because you would have been in the passenger side of that car. And
never thought of it that way. I always thought of it as if I would have just hung out with him, maybe he'd be here.
Yeah, that could have happened.
Wow, thanks. Never really thought about that. That's a true story.
And you wake up the next day.
Yeah.
You got all this remorse. You got you know you're feeling all this emotion, whatever type of emotion you're feeling at the
Yeah.
moment, whether you felt like you could have saved him, whether you felt like you could have died a few days earlier in the botched robbery. What do you look in the mirror and say to yourself?
How we gonna go? How we gonna get it? What are we gonna do now? Put my head down, go to work, bro. That's what I did. Came back up again. Boom, 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 boom. Never forgot that stuff, you know, and that was that was really the lowest I was in the game at that point. And then I bounced back up, boom, back on top again. That's just how I always do, man. I just always, no matter how far low I go, I always come back up for air. You know
Get
what I
down
mean?
9, get up 10.
That's it, man. You know, and everything going good, everything going good again. You know, at this time, my daughter is probably 1, 2 years old. I can't really remember, to be honest with you. It was, you know, kind of
A blur.
a long path of doing the same thing in different ways, if that makes sense. And man, I used to do music back in the day, and
Tell me about that.
well,
Because
I mean,
I know that you talk about it nonchalantly, but
Yeah.
there was an episode where you was a hair away from getting signed with Rick
Yeah.
Ross. So I know.
no,
this is-
50 Cent. Yeah.
Okay.
G Unit South.
My
back
bad.
in the day.
Wrong.
Yeah, no, you're good. I wish Ross, man. Yeah. Nah, but yeah, no, I mean, it just me and one of my buddies, we turned down a deal with LaFace, a couple other deals, and then we signed with Gina South. And then 50 Cent and Young Buck got into a altercation, and they started falling out, and they canceled the contract, paid us a little fee to walk away, and
So you were officially signed with G Unit
Mm-hmm.
South, but G Unit South had a problem that everybody knows on the
Right.
on the main scene,
Mm-hmm.
where Young Buck, you know, was removed from G Unit, and you guys got caught up in the crosshairs.
Yeah. We got caught up. Lil Scrappy got caught up, and a couple other people as well. That's when Lil Scrappy had that song like "Money in the Bank." Shorty, what you know what I mean? Like, so yeah, well, man, bro, I don't have a tattoo on my body, but man, I was ready to get that G Unit, boy. I was not playing, but you know, man, again, it was just a sign for me. And again, this is another trial and tribulation. This is all around the same time. All this stuff is happening too. You know what I mean? This is not like this happened this year, this happened 2 years. No, bro. This is like a year and a half span of all this stuff that's happening. And after the G Unit thing, I was like, man, fuck this. You know what I mean? I was like,
Right back at it.
right back at hard, bro. I'm talking triple level. You know what I mean? Like, it was just crazy. Like, I really look back now without saying too much, and I'm just like, wow, bro. Like, I'm very blessed. That's why I said when we first started talking in the beginning, very blessed to be the man you see in front of you right now. It's just wild, man.
So the music thing,
Hurt my soul, man.
obviously,
I love
because
music.
because that was, and that for a lot of us, where we're from, there's only two ways out.
Yep.
The way we see it.
Yep.
You're either gonna be real good at football, or you're gonna be a rapper.
Yep,
You know,
facts.
that is you know, a
Yeah.
lot of people have it. As much as people don't want to say that you become a product of your environment, we are.
Yeah.
Because life is all about your influences.
Mm-hmm.
And a child that's raised starts off with the influence of the mother and the father up to about the age of 6.
Mm-hmm.
Then when they start going to school, their influence is school. Then when they become a preteen and a teenager, the influence are the friends that are around them. So if our influence is around us, the best thing we have is sports or entertainment, and one ain't panning out or both, it's like, what are we gonna do? Work at McDonald's for the rest of our life? You know, so then we go to the plan B and plan C, you know, dope boy, jack boy, whatever we can fall into. And so you actually tasted that.
Yeah.
And to taste that, be signed and have that snatch, that's like, and we're not given the tools to be able to deal with that.
Right.
You know, our thing is come back stronger, come back harder.
Yep.
Oh, don't worry about it. I got this.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? But the way you got it at that time and that mindset that you had leads you right back to what you know.
Yeah.
So now you're going back harder on that.
Way harder, bro. way harder. And yeah, man. So this is the time where we were doing music still, and I kind of at this point I kind of gave up on music just because I just had a bad taste in my mouth, and I was just like, man, you know what, bro, this ain't going nowhere. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm taking money from this to do this, and you know what I mean?
And
time and effort. I'm just like, you know, and looking back, hindsight is I should have never quit, because again, just like how you pointed out, like, oh, you could have been with him that night. I never thought of that, right? And the same way that I never thought of back then, I never thought of, well, all right, well, if G-Unit South wanted me, I must be good. Right? Nah.
There's 20 other.
Right. No, I just took the hurt and I used it for the wrong motivation. You know what I'm saying? Instead of me taking that hurt and going, flying to New York because I had bread. You know what I'm saying?
No, you victimize yourself. You treated yourself as a victim.
Correct, 100%.
Said, you know, and you said, nah, you know, I'm bump all this. I'm going right back to what I know. I'm going back to what got me to this point, instead of saying, well, this ain't gonna get me there.
Creature of habit at that point.
Right.
You know what I mean? Right. And I went back to what I knew worked, and I was good at what worked, you know? So we were doing something with music, man, at a local club that's actually not very far from here. It's very, very close from here, where we're located now. And, man, there's an altercation or something like that. And at that point, remember, I had got robbed, so I had a bulletproof vest on all the time. You know, people used to think I was crazy. I'm like, I ain't crazy.
Been there, done that.
Yeah, I'm like, and at that point in my life, I was like, oh, you got to shoot me, bro. Like, you got to shoot me. Like, you want this? Come get it, bro. Like, dead ass. At that point, I had a Jacob watch on, and like, bro, like, light up this whole place. You know what I mean? It's just so stupid. You know, I'm laughing at it. Yeah. Oh, bro. Bust down before bust downs were, but yeah, exactly. You know what I'm saying? But in the parking lot, it wasn't even my beef, bro. And shots rang out, and I got shot 3 times in the chest, and I had a bulletproof vest on. And without that, once again, I'd be dead, you know? And that's when things like, bro, I thought I was dead. Like, I don't know if you
when you get hit with the bullet in the bulletproof vest, you feel you land.
Yeah,
you're out,
bro. So I'm thinking I'm dead. I'm like, oh man. I was like, oh, tell my kids, tell my girl, like, you know what I'm saying? Just like,
down I'm coming home.
Yeah, for real. Like and they pull it off. They're like, man, you go good. You're good. You're not even. I'm like I couldn't breathe. I had cracked ribs. I got hit with 2 45s and a 9, and you know,
2 different shooters.
2 different shooters. Yeah, and yeah, we'll just leave it there. So I was broke ribs. I was laid up for 2 weeks after that, bro. Like 2 weeks. I couldn't browse. Like, you know, go to the hospital. Nope, can't do that. You know, at that time I had a friend who was a nurse, came over, broke ribs, taped it up. That's all you could do for broke ribs anyway. You know what I mean? It's not, you know, she kept coming over every couple of days to check for, like, make sure I'm not internally bleeding, but, you know, shit.
Right, but obviously you go to a hospital, it's a report.
Yeah, well, you know how that works.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So 2 weeks later go by.
Like you asked before, you look in the mirror, right? So at this point, I got a ballin' ass crib. You know what I mean? Like crazy. It's like 3,500 square feet or whatever, marble. Just crazy, you know? And I'm just like on the water, and I'm just looking out outside and just like looking around. Nobody's around. Nobody's there. I've been laid up for 2 weeks. Ain't nobody there, right? I'm like, look in the mirror, and I'm just like, nah, man, that's it. First strike, second strike. I'm like, bro, I'm done. Like, at that point in time, I've never been incarcerated for anything because I didn't do anything, you know. Well, and I was like, I'm done, bro. If I can walk away with this, I had some money saved up, and I went into cars after that.
This is a game that there's really only 2 ways out of it. There ain't no retirement policy. There ain't no retirement plan.
Ain't no 401k.
You know, you're gonna put the jumpsuit on, or you're gonna put the body bag on.
Facts.
And you live by the sword, you die by the sword. So now you took that, you realized that you had like, now this is your rock bottom.
Yeah.
If the botched robbery wasn't, if your boy dying wasn't, if 10 things that probably happened before that, this moment right here said, wait a minute. But I know that when I had it, I had an eye for grabbing these cars up.
Right.
So you lean into that.
Yeah, and it's funny that you mentioned that it was rock bottom, right? Because once again, I got bread. That's why I said in the beginning, money's not real. We just think it is, but we need it, but it's not real. It shouldn't be the defining answer to your purpose, if that makes sense.
It's just a tool.
It's a tool, right? But nobody ever taught me that, and that's an important key factor I would hope anybody who's listening to this would take away from that. Money is a tool.
That at some point in your life, you were willing to die over.
At one point in my life, I was. Now, not so much. Because I know I can get money anytime, any place, any way. You know what I mean? Money comes to me now, one way or the other. You know, you put yourself in different rooms and different positions with different people, you know, and it floats to you, right, one way or the other.
And I think you hit it on the head with you always had the mindset.
Right.
You just weren't around the right people.
100%.
So you shifted now and put yourself in different rooms.
Right.
And is this entrepreneurship that we're leading into with the cars? Or how is this starting?
Yeah, so I opened a dealership.
Okay.
Back in the day, I want to say 2010, something like that. Yeah, I want to say around that area. Had no money. I mean, I had money. I had no experience in running a car dealership. I think I was 23 at the time, and nobody wanted to help me, bro. Like nobody wanted to get. Like there's older guys there, and I'm buying cars cheap, and I'm shitting on their prices, so they don't want to help me. They're like, why am I help this punk ass kid out? He's got his car $2,000 lower than mine, and it's nicer. You know, like I ain't teaching that kid shit. You know. And that's pretty much how that went. So took what I had saved up and I invested it into cars. I made some bad decisions because, again, I was just shooting off at the hip, man. I didn't know, you know. And
you were learning as you go.
Learning as I go, man. Just thrown to the fire. And it was just one thing after another. I made some bad. I had buy here, pay here notes, right? And for those that don't know, if you have a buy here, pay here car, you're paying the dealership. That dealer is keeping that money. It's his money. So let's just say one person is paying $300 a month, right? Well, you times that by 10, that's $3,000. Times it by 100, that's 30, right? So at that point in time, I think I want to say I had about 45 buy here, pay here accounts. And I was bringing in roughly around 17 grand a month, which my overhead back then was super low. So I was still taking home 12 grand a month, something like that.
But you're carrying everybody's debt.
Right. But if a car repos,
you can resell it.
I'm reselling it.
In the buy here, pay here, usually we resell a car 2 or 3 times before.
Usually, correct, yeah. I mean, hopefully not. I wish everybody the best luck. You know what I mean? I'm not an asshole where you're a day late, I'm gonna come snatch the car.
The reality is, if they're buying buy here, pay here, is because their credit is shot and they have a history already.
Correct.
Of not paying back previous loans.
Right.
And the reality is, 9 times out of 10, your future is going to be based off of your history.
100%. Credit is king, folks. Back to what we said earlier. But yeah, so the major decision that made me fail at that business was I sold my buy here, pay here notes, right? Not thinking about the residual income I had coming in every month and that it was covering my overhead and I didn't have to even show up to work if I didn't want to, bro. You know what I mean?
What does that mean that you sold your buy here, pay here note?
So when you have a certain amount of quantity of buy here, pay here accounts, there's bulk buyers that purchase it for 75 cents on the dollar. So you got 100 grand, they're going to get you 75. So I sold out and I took that money and I tricked off some of it, not going to lie, you know, but the other part of it, I did reinvest in inventory. And I upgraded to a bigger location. You know what I mean? So instead of my little fenced-in lot off of Fowler Street, excuse me, I went to a bigger one with 4 garage bays and a little building here. And you know what I'm saying?
Which accumulates to more overhead.
Oh, way more overhead, right?
So now where you can make certain decisions because you kept your overhead low. Now you jumped out the box. Now you said you got bigger than your britches.
Right. Yep. And check this out, right? And this is something that I kick myself in the ass for all the time, right? Had 15 grand coming in a month at least. I think it was closer to 17 or something. Let's just call it 15 for simple math, right? My overhead at that time, I think, was roughly around 4 grand a month. So that's 11K, 12K I was walking home with, right? That other location that I upgraded to was 4K. I could have easily just rented that location, got a credit line, filled that place up, and had 2 locations generating double the money. But no, I was stupid, didn't know any better, because again, didn't have that guide, didn't have a mentor, didn't have anybody teaching me, hey kid, this is stupid, don't do it. Think smart and diversify your money. And at that time, think about it. So we had 11K left over, 4 grand. I still had 7 grand, bro. I could 7 grand walk home. That's just that was the rent. Don't get me wrong. So, but what I'm saying is, I could have had a whole nother spot and did absolutely nothing with it. Still had at least 7K, bro.
If you would have leveraged your credit.
If I would have leveraged my credit at that time, and
That's
at that
why-
time I had a 750. You know,
Credit score.
yeah, 750 credit score. Yep,
So I
fake
think-
750, but it
Well, I
was-
think that's why now you are pushing that so much. I think that's why now, for the generation that's come behind you, for the people that are watching this,
right.
you know, I've been there, done that, I made that mistake. Utilize your credit. You know, your cash can only go so far. No matter
Right.
how much you have, if you leverage your credit, you can 10 times what you have in the bank. You know, and really, that's the key to do it. The key is to use the bank's money, and whether it looks like debt on paper, that's the money you should be using to continue to grow the thing. You shouldn't be using your money. But we come into the habit of coming from a place where if we got 10 grand, that's all. That's what
That's
we know.
it.
We're rich.
Yeah.
You know, we come from that mentality. So whatever we have, we use. But if you would have took it back from when you would get as far as you can and then get the guy to front you the rest.
Right.
But with the bank,
You don't even got to do that. You just sign and drive, baby. You know what I mean? And that's the whole thing. Is that way of thinking, because again, product of our environment. Like you just said, we got 10 grand, we're rich, and that's all we got. We're like, oh no, that's all we got. You know what I mean? Not realizing that at that time, bro, I was 100% legit. You know what I mean? Not like I ever wasn't before, but you know what I'm saying? 100%
Absolutely.
legit. So, but I was still trapped in that mentality of like, oh, gotta keep that on the low. You know what I'm saying? No, bro, it's stupid. If I would have just kept those buy here, pay here notes, I could have used that money coming in as leverage. A bank would have gave me anything, bro. I mean, think about it. You have $15,000. You're netting at 11 or 12, right? Bro,
And
why?
residuals.
Why? Right, for years. I got years of that coming in, like 3 or 4 years coming
you
in.
could have took those contracts, took them right to the bank,
Yeah.
and released you the rest of the money you need, and had
Right. I could have
2.0.
used those as collateral. Not really. I don't know if I could have, to be honest with you, but with that income coming in, proven income coming in for that statement of period of time, I guarantee you I would have been able to use that as income coming in, and I would have been able to leverage
at least get
it.
a loan at some point.
Oh, for
something,
sure.
or another
Yeah.
leg, and
Yeah, for sure. Dude. For
so
sure.
now you got this business. You're growing. You're not making the best decisions. You're taking the money instead of going back and feeding the monster. In your words, you're tricking it off. You're
Right.
doing. And at the end of the day, you also got to pay yourself
Right.
first, and you know you got a chunk. You got a chunk in front of you. It's legit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who wouldn't?
Right.
You know I would.
Right.
You know, and so now, but you took a portion of that. You said, well, I got to put this back into the game. You know, I got to put this back into these cards, because if not, I'm gonna be on dick. You know,
Right.
or just waiting for these 300s to come in every month.
Right.
Hopefully they all come in, and if they don't come in, I got to send repos out. So what happens at that point? You're in the bigger shop. You let go of the other one.
Right. So what happens then is, when I got into a position, so I had all those accounts coming in. So I had that money coming in, right? So if I owned a car for $3 grand, somebody had $1,000 down. Back then I would sell it, right? Because I'm like, I got money coming, I'm good. It's just money in the bank. Da 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 da. But now if you own a car for $3 grand, they got $1,000 down. You're like, damn, I gotta wait 9 months, almost, or 8, 9 months to get my money back. So you're holding a sale up, right? Not getting the residuals, your reoccurring's coming back in. So now what happens? Now you're like, oh man, you're not selling cars. Because now you're like, oh, now I need $3,000 down. Like, I ain't got $3,000 down. No, I got down. So now you're not selling cars. So now they sit. Then by the time you realize, damn, again, there's no guidance. Then you realize, oh, well, I got to sell cars to get money coming in, right? So now you're selling the cars. Now you're forever that, let's just say simple math again, $90K, right? Let's say simple math again, $3K per car, right? That's what you own them for. If you're getting a third of your money down, which would mean you're only recouping $30,000, now you don't have the overhead. Now you don't have the money coming in to clear your overhead. So when that $30,000 comes back in, you're paying out your overhead, you're paying your sales tax, you're paying your tags for your buy here, pay here's.
How do you get more cars?
How do you get more cars? So what do? You rob Peter to pay Paul. So now you take the sales tax money, you get your tags, take the tag money, buy cars. And this is the complete wrong way to do it. And I actually went to jail for that, for failure to remit sales tax. The only time I ever been to jail for something. You know what I mean? Something serious, I guess you could say. Yeah. So that's what happened. So that was it. Done. Finito. It's over. Rock bottom.
At this point, did you lose the dealership?
Yep.
Over the situation?
Yep.
So you lost the dealership, you get locked up federal or state?
State.
State because of state tax.
Department of Revenue, baby.
State tax.
We're good.
Yes, everything's good in due time. We're here, we can talk about it.
Yeah, no, we're good on that.
And
they're paid in full, baby.
And I'm glad that you're able to say your story and
Yeah.
other people can learn from it and hopefully not go down the same route, because we're not here trying to glorify
No,
it,
not at
we're
all.
here trying to serve a purpose. And our purpose is to, obviously get people on the right track and understand that there's mistakes made at every level.
For sure.
So now you got nothing.
Nothing.
Now you did time.
Nothing, bro.
You paid back restitution. You're out. You're here.
Bro, 5 years papers.
5 years paper. So now, so you're in the trap.
$600 a month. $600 a month for 5 years, bro. And it didn't even go on my credit. Like, I couldn't even get credit for paying a car loan or something off for 5 years. You know what I'm saying? Like, nothing. I mean, my freedom rode on it. If I didn't pay my payment, I violate. Boom. I'm in jail.
What happens now? When you go back into that, mirror.
Man, bro. So before the arrest, right? I'll just bring it back real quick. So before the arrest, I got a job in Naples as a service advisor at a franchise place of business. And I was like day 5 in on it. And I started work at 7 o'clock. So I had to leave my house because I lived in Cape at like 5:30. And bro, I'm taking a shower. It's like 5 something in the morning. I hear ding dong. I said, fuck. I just knew, bro. Nobody comes ring your doorbell at 5 something in the morning, bro. It's never good news. I can promise you. So what happens? Boom. U.S. Marshals at my door. I'm like, oh. I'm there. I hear U.S. Marshals, U.S. Marshals. I'm like, go to hit out the back slider, AR in my face. I'm like, oh, I just wanted to see who was out here. Just wanted to see who was out here. Man, I was lying because I was about to hit the lake on them. You know what I mean? But they were pretty cool. They didn't arrest me in front of my daughter. They were respectful, and
well,
then
you handled it. You owned it.
Yeah.
You didn't. Well, not the.
Well, I mean, I didn't have the opportunity not to own it because when the funny, and it's not funny, but the sad part about it is when we're outside and they're cuffing me, I was like, man, what am I arrested for? And they're like, hold on. They're like, failure to remit sales tax. I said, man, let's go. You know what I mean?
Thinking it's gonna be a slap in the wrist.
Yeah, bro. Because I'm like, man, whatever. Nah.
How much is the sales tax? I'll pay it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, it was too late for that. There was because I ducked and dodged. It's all my fault.
Right.
You know what I mean? It really is. So I ducked and dodged, and it was too late for that. There was no more talking. They just wanted action, And at that time, there was me and a couple other dealers in the area that got hit up, and I was the low boy on the scale. You know what I mean, bro? There were some people with like $170,000. Me, at the time before prosecution costs and this, bro, I owed 15 grand. It wasn't even that serious. I probably could have came up with it, you know, if just having the access to be able to go into my place of business and just selling stuff. I could have probably came up with it.
Yeah, even if you broke even and took a loss on items,
whatever,
just to be able to pay that off. But by that time, it was too
late. It was too late.
There was charges.
Yeah.
There was a case built against you, and they were trying to get that in blood.
Yeah, and just, you know, the craziest thing was this is like 4 days before Thanksgiving. And I'll never forget this. Like, this made me, there's so many eye openers. So I sat in jail for $250 bond, bro. Because remember.
So now this is your rock bottom.
Rock, bro. New job, gone. That job was 80 grand.
Great job.
It was a great job.
80 grand.
Back then was strong.
Was exactly.
Yeah, bro. Gone. You know what I mean? No friends. I'm sitting in jail for $250, bro. Where my friends at? People I bought turkeys for. People you know what I'm saying? Just showed mad love to, bro. You know?
Those people that your friend was telling you that not everybody's going to be like you.
Yeah.
Yeah. All showed themselves.
Yeah. Nah, it's all good, though. You know, because that right there, you know, makes the difference in my story, you know? And then, you know, I'm calling out, you know how it goes, fishing. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, hey, anywhere yet? Hey, anywhere yet? No, nobody's coming for it. No one's helping. I'm like, wow. I stopped calling.
This is you calling the bail bond?
No, this is me calling at that time, my partner. And I was just like, wow. Like, nobody's, I'm like, does anybody know it's only $250? Like, what? They're like, oh, no. She's like, no. I'm just like, I just hung up the phone. And I took a day and I sat, right? And I was just like, damn, wow. This is really my life right now. So I sat another day, right? And then on the second day, or third, it was like the third day, it was the day before Thanksgiving, that I made a phone call to one of my friends who was a bail bondsman. And he's like, Jake. I'm like, yeah. He's like, what the hell are you doing in there? I'm like, bro, can you get me out, please? He's like, $250? He's like, man, come on, man. What are you doing? Got me out. But I wanted to see, bro. I wanted to see who was going to be there for me. And there was nobody, bro. Nobody. And I took that. And I never let go of that. Because I know that when things are up, everybody's always around. Everybody's clapping for you, bro. When you're down, nobody is ever going to reach out and try to pick you up. Not going to say nobody, but very few individuals are. And if you have those type of individuals who reach out and grab and pull you up with them, hang on to those people, because you're not going to find too many people like that.
My mom used to always say, when I would come home and be like, oh, yeah, this is my friend. She'd be like, your friend's $1 in your pocket. Show me how many dollars you got. Show me how many friends you got.
Mm-hmm.
So when you ain't got it, they're not going to be around.
True.
And then she'd also used to say, the only friend you got is your dick. Because he's the one, when you get locked up, he's locked up with you. You know? So as much as I didn't like her when she said that, it's so true.
Yeah.
Because, and not saying that you're not going to meet some good people out there.
Right.
But in the lifestyle that was being lived, people are just opportunists,
mm-hmm.
you know, and they're just out for what you got and for the best benefit. What can you do for them?
Right.
You know, and when you got it and it comes so easy and it comes fast, you spend it faster.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you have to go out and earn it, you know, you only had that job for 5 days.
Right.
But when that check would have came, you would have been a little bit more different with who you shared it with.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and so now you're at the real rock bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're literally, you know, calling in to see who's going to pay a $250 bond, and you're back at that $20 moment, you know, of realizing who's who.
Yeah.
You know? And you come out, you obviously treated enough people right that this guy takes you out and says, you know,
I didn't
on
have
a
to pay him.
signature, exactly,
No.
just on your face value,
Mhm.
and you come out. What happens at that point?
Wow. So at that point, man, I was just, man, thinking about that state of mind at that time and that hurt, bro. That, man, that really hurt me, bro, back then. Just because of so much I did for so many different people, you know? And so at that point in time, I got out, had to move from my 3,500 square foot house into a little duplex. And thank God I knew people back then who owned a duplex. So I got blessed with that. And man, I wanted to jump back so bad, bro. I was like, man, fuck this. One day I can make everything right. You know what I mean? If I just remembered when I laid up in bed for 2 weeks. You know, nobody cared. You know what I mean? I was like, damn. I was like, nah, man, I ain't doing that again. I know how that's gonna end. I got away. There ain't gonna be another forgiving moment. 3 strikes, you're out, bro. You know, that's how I feel. And I was just like, man, it took everything in my power not to do that because I know I could have made things right like that. But at that point, I think I was maturing enough to realize that just because things happen quick doesn't mean it's the right way, you know? And
do you still have your family at this time? Is everything still intact?
yeah, because I'm holding it together. I'm the glue. You know what I mean? I'm always the glue. I mean, at that point, she had family who lived with us. You know what I mean? Like, my family didn't live with us. My family was all right. You know what I mean? Like, it was always on that side of things, you know, which, whatever. I mean, looking back, it is what it is. I don't care.
You're a provider.
Yeah, always. And that's cool. I'll be that, you know?
But what do you do now? Because you couldn't even get on a $250 bond.
Bro.
You're sitting at the house. You contemplating going back to the streets.
Yep.
You lost your business.
Yep.
You got jail time in front of you or behind
Yep.
you.
Yep.
And you know sentences coming up or trials happening in the background. And you're sitting there again weighing out your options.
Man, nothing's more stressful than a case. You know what I mean? Pending. And despite what people may think, when it comes to the Department of Revenue and sales tax, they don't care about your score sheet. They offered me 2.5 years on my first offer inside.
And they usually say that your best offer is your first offer.
That's what they say. So I started working at a dealership in Lehigh. I won't say no names again. And it took me forever to get a job, bro, because most people were just like, now I'm got the arrest pending. You know what I mean?
Right. You're going into a business that is controlled off of heavy financials, and you have white collar financial crimes.
Yep.
So it literally
red flagged me. Yeah, red flagged me because I'm pending a felony charge.
But somebody gives you the opportunity. You
crushed it.
You have to start back you go from being the business owner to starting back at the bottom and being the employee.
Yep.
Do you feel like that was actually a godsend because now maybe you can learn the mistakes that you were making on your own dollar and you can learn those things while working on somebody else's dollar?
Yeah, absolutely. Matter of fact, that's how I got the job, is exactly what you said. I couldn't get a job for the pending arrest at that time, and I also couldn't get a job because I was my own boss, and nobody wanted to take a shot thinking I couldn't follow directions. So, John, you know, I appreciate you, man. Took a shot on me, asked me, he's like, well, how are you going to follow instructions after you're used to being the boss? I said, I'll never forget the conversation. I was like, I'll be able to follow instructions because I was the boss. He looked at me, he started laughing. He's like, you're hired. I'm like, boom. All right, cool. And then after that, first month, crushed it, broke the store record there for as many units sold as for one salesperson in the first month.
Congratulations.
Never sold cars before in my life for like a, you know, for like a somebody else. Like, yeah, you know, I had to buy her, pay her at that point. So, you know, I ain't nobody, you know, but so doing that, it was, yeah.
The question was a tough question that he asked you, but it was easily answered because the reality is when you know what to expect, you know what to give.
100%.
You know, and that's why if I was to do it for somebody else, I would be the best.
Me too.
Because they wouldn't have to tell me the flavor of the coffee,
Right.
how many sugars go in
Right.
that cup, because I know the next move and I'm gonna have it there already.
Yeah.
As simple as it is, as as difficult as it is, I'm gonna be there already. I'm gonna have it already figured out because I know what I expect from people.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people think insecurities will naturally want to say, well, they had a business, they're out for my, they're going to do the same thing, and they're going to jump ship, they're going to get the game, and they're going to run with it. But the reality is we have to get over our insecurities.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want the game, you got to give the game. If I want the light, I got to give you the light, because the better I make you, in return, you're going to take care of the business.
All right.
And if we can get past that moment, which he did,
Right.
and he gave you a shot that 9 times out of 10 they're not going to give you.
Right.
He did that. He saw that in you, and that is what makes a good CEO. So that, I think you learned in that moment. I just learned something right now.
Mm-hmm.
In that moment, how we're supposed to see things and not see people as competition,
Mm-hmm.
but as collaboration.
Sure.
So now you're knocking it out the park.
Boom, boom.
You're working somewhere. Your life is more humbled. You're in a duplex. You're not on the water no more. You go in the
Right.
backyard and you see the neighbor.
Yep.
But you're crushing it.
Yeah.
Your self-esteem is probably super high through the roof. You're learning things that you didn't know when
Mm-hmm.
you were the one that was learning it from yourself and making from your own mistakes. You actually have a corporation that you can look on, and they'll tell you, they'll guide you. And at that point, did you get mentorship?
No, no, I mean, I did, but not in. So after I worked at that dealership, there was a manager who came to work at that dealership, and she took me to another dealership, and that's where my car career really took off. And shout out Grant Motors, Scott, Neal, great guys, taught me a lot. Without them, I wouldn't have had the knowledge of the car business as much as I do now. So they didn't necessarily mentor me. Like, they were like, hey, we're going to teach you everything. It was just for them and their business model and how they were with their employees. Their motto is where everyone's treated like family. And for a long time, that's how it was. And, it was a great place to work, made a lot of money there. And I learned so much about the car business, back end, front end, all the way around. They had a really good business model, and I learned a lot, man.
So you naturally were picking up what they're putting down, but
Right.
they kept a company culture.
Right.
And that company culture is what really intrigued you and
Yes.
kept you locked in.
Yeah.
So with that being, did that carry on the whole entire time you were there, and did you carry it on into your future when did you stay there for a long time?
Yeah, I was there for 7 years.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I became their GM. I ran 3 stores, broke every record, units sold. As a salesperson, I crushed it. I was selling 20, 30 cars a month at a used car dealership like that. It was pretty insane. As a manager, broke every record that you could possibly imagine. I was just crushing it, on fire, man. Everybody knew even the big dealerships knew who I was. I'm sorry, because they watched the transition. You know what I mean? They saw 20 cars out there. Now there's 60. Now there's 80 cars. They're like, what the hell are these guys doing? Not realizing that this little spot right here is putting out 65, 70 cars a month, and then the other store is putting out another 45, 50 cars, and the other one's putting out another 20. I'm moving units, and I'm touching all these deals. So I was in charge of all that. So
wow. So you was able to really learn the ins and outs of the business. Yeah. The hustle mentality.
Yep.
Had you put your chest out there in the beginning and open up this buy here, pay here.
Yep.
But there was a whole other world that you didn't
Right.
even recognize that even existed.
Right.
So now you're doing it for 7 years. You're able to do what I think you did it backwards.
I did.
I think you should have worked for somebody first,
Sure.
build up your knowledge base on somebody else's dollar, learn the education you need to learn, and then go out and jump out the paint. And if you took a couple hits, it was okay because not most of them you got them out the way. So you're able to do that now. You're 7 years into it. You say you worked there 7 years.
Yeah.
What happens there?
There's just no more room for growth, and I'm not a complacent person, and sometimes that's a fault, nothing against them. It had nothing to do with them at all. They're great guys. Still talk to them every once in a while here and there. We have a relationship. I think it's good. I'm sure we are. When they sold the company, Scott Grant called me and let me know ahead of time that they were selling the company. This is after years way after. This is like recent, probably like a year and a half ago or something like that. Let me know. So that, to me, that meant a lot because he was like, I want to thank you because without you, this wouldn't be possible. And I was like, cool, get a check in the mail. He's like, nah, but it's all good. No, it's all good. But that meant a lot, man. Because without that, certain time, individuals, like, I feel like me and you are like a lot of like I said, like you said earlier. So like that appreciation means the world to me. You know what I mean? So that meant something to me. So, and I appreciate that because it lets me know that what I was doing worked.
And real recognize real.
That's it.
And I'm sure at that point, when you left, to do your own thing or to work somewhere else?
I went and took a chance on a franchise dealership, and I was told one thing where I was going to go, and then they kind of okey-doked me and put me somewhere else. And I'll be honest with you, man, I was so burnt out because the car business is really rewarding, but it requires a lot of your time, man. I was working 6 days a week, 9 to 7, forever. Right. One day off, Sunday. You know what I mean? I did that for 7 years, bro. So I didn't take a break. I just out of one seat into the next seat, and I was just burnt out, bro. And could I have made it work? Yeah. Did I want to? No. I didn't care. I was like, man, it's like, screw this, bro. Like, I don't want to deal with these type of people. Like, because these people were not my type of people. You know what I mean? It was just... when I say that, it's a different brand, and this type of brand is just a different type of customer that
you went from everybody's treated like family.
Right. It had nothing to do with the customers. This is what I was getting at. It had nothing to do with the customers. It's not that they're not my people. It's not no, bro, I'm just burnt out, and I don't know how to recognize that and make an educated choice and say, hey, you know what? Let me take 2 weeks off before I start this because I got pressured into this spot. That I had to do this now. I got to do it now. Right. It's not going to be there in 2 weeks. I'm like, well, I need to make money. I mean, I can't stop the flow, So, and I just bombed it. I was there. I got called on my day off, and the finance director is like, "You're not coming in today?" It's like, it's my day off. He's like, "Yeah, well, it would have been nice to know." I was like, "So let me get this straight. It's my day off. I got to call you on my day off to let you know I'm not coming in." He's like, yeah, it would just been nice to know. It's like, don't worry about it, bro. Won't never happen again. Click. I went to the dealership on my day off, grabbed my fan because they put me in a hot ass office. New guy. You know what I mean? They put me through a bunch of shit, man. They were throwing me every little piece of crap they could just to you know what I mean? And they were trying to test me. And normally,
like the rookie on the team.
Yeah, but normally I would push through it and put my head down, go through it and shine. But bro, I just didn't care. I was like, I'm out of it.
You touched on a subject that, to me, it's so important because it's happened to me so many times. Where we're overachievers. We want to be the best. We want to be we want to win the award every month. Employee of the month every month. But we get to a point where we get burnt out, and as men, it's hard for us to go to somebody for it and speak to somebody. We go home, they expect something. They don't understand. They can talk to us about all their problems, and we're just sitting here listening and smiling and nodding, and they don't realize the day that we've had.
Right.
The month that we've had, the past year, 7 years that you've had consistent. Yeah. And we hold that, we bottle it in so much that it becomes a mental health issue. Yeah. That people don't know that we're having a mental breakdown. And because we don't know how to express that, we don't know how to and we're so used to holding it together that when we mention something of it, you know, we're what's wrong with you? You know, you're being a bitch.
Yeah.
You know, you why you playing the victim, or why this, when reality is we're crying out.
Right.
And so you're like, all right, well, I just keep thugging it out.
Yep.
I just keep showing up, you know, not realizing that you need to be able to decompress.
Right.
You need to be able to have people in your corner, which at times you were that person for me. You know, I was going through my thing, and you didn't realize it, that I was able to decompress with you on our breakfast, you know, on our luncheons, and I could go 2 or 3 hours and talk about everything that I was going through.
Right.
That nobody, you know, I'm not used to confining in people like
Right.
that. So having friends is so important. We want to always assume that our partner is our friend, our marital status, you know, the one we come home to is our best friend, but we've become such a particular person that they don't know how to see a different person.
Yeah.
So, and then we treat the people that we know as friends like, well, I can't show that, I can't be weak in front of them. I can't be vulnerable to that person because I'm used to being the big dog.
Right.
I'm used to being the guy that they go to.
The alpha.
That, you know,
Yeah.
and, you know, or so being able to be vulnerable is such a huge deal, to be able to get through the situations, you know, to deal with a business deal that didn't go through, a divorce that's happening, a friend that, you know, somebody passing away, so many things that can happen in life, that if we create healthy relationships with friends, instead of having this macho thing of, you know, no, I can't let my guard down. Oh no, you know what? I'm broke, but no, I got it. You know, and you don't realize that friendships are made so you can be there for them, and in return they can be there for you.
Right.
Not just, you know, not just going and chilling and then everybody going about their way. Like, the real reason for a friendship is to be there for each other.
Right.
And if we have that healthy relationship built and we're mature enough emotionally to be able to speak about those things, then we can get through these situations without you snapping at your job, you know. And maybe that could have led somewhere else, but because you didn't know how to deal with it. And I'm not saying that they weren't wrong for the way they handle things, but we should be able to confide in people.
Yeah.
And we have a problem with doing that. You know, we have a problem with putting up this wall of a tough guy, or, you know, I've got my life in control, when everything's falling apart.
Right.
And we're really spinning plates trying to get it all figured out. And you said it earlier with paying Peter, you know, robbing Peter to pay Paul, because that is literally the story of my life all the time, when I'm just, you know, juggling everything and trying to make it all happen. And then one thing doesn't land the way it's supposed to. It has to work.
Yeah.
It has to
No,
work.
we're finding a way.
Yeah, finding a way. Yeah, exactly. And then especially when you have expectations at the house. Well, and then you come home and it's like, it didn't work. Like, what do you mean you ain't got no money? You know what I'm saying? I thought, you know, and people don't understand what we're going through. And so now you did that. You told them pretty much, take a hike. Yeah. What happens?
Oh, man. So I take some time off.
How long did that last?
About 2 months.
Okay.
2-3 months. So then I entered into a business partnership, and it didn't work out. And we'll just say that. I just want to leave that. I don't want to glorify that don't want to give that any light, other than just didn't work out.
Fair enough.
We'll just leave it at that.
Fair enough.
I know you may want to indulge into that,
Hey,
but I don't like ain't no
It's,
free advertising here.
You know, we're here to get people to a certain place, and I like to, you know, we shined enough light on the negative situations.
Yeah.
I like to talk about the positives. Right now, you got a great situation going on. You drive. I love the branding.
Appreciate it.
I love what you're doing with it. I know you're going from one location to 2 locations.
Yep.
I think there's a 3rd location in the play.
Yep.
With a national situation.
Yep.
Is this going to franchise? Talk about explain what the business model is, and then tell everybody what's going on.
Right. So without saying too much, it's kind of like the secret sauce, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, so yeah, there's another location opening up. There's another one opening up north. so far as a franchise, I guess you could call it like that, but the way it's going to work is kind of employee-owned situation.
Okay, so piece of the pie.
Correct.
So where people have equity in what's going on, and this boils down to for businesses to work in longevity and to be able to retain people, they have to feel like they're committed to the growth, to the well-being of the company. If the company does good, I'm gonna do good.
Correct.
If the company does bad, well, we're gonna do bad together, and hopefully we get over that hill, you know. And so
Right.
in return, you take care of the employee, and the employee is gonna take care of the business.
Right. So my thought process on the whole matter is that if somebody has a horse in the race, they're going to cheer for the horse, like you just said, a lot harder. You know what I mean? And that doesn't mean that, you know, you drive now isn't going to do what they need to do for you. You know what I mean? Don't get that wrong. But what that means is you're going to be more motivated to help you drive now be a better brand and be a better place to work, or, you know, place to be. So,
And how does that look like from their perspective?
From their perspective, qualifying individuals, you don't necessarily even have to have car experience, to be honest with you. So how it works is we have a location here, right? I'm opening strategically in different places to build a network, and for the reasons, without going into too much because I don't want to do all that. But so pretty much for the right individual, they'll get a significant chunk of the pie. I'm not going to break down my math because
no,
you know.
I think that is different in every scenario. Is
Sure.
a little bit different. Towns,
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, overhead, profitability margins, KPIs, everything kind of
Right.
But the meat and potatoes is for the right person that has. I'm sure you have some type of.
I got some structure for that.
Some structure for that, and then so it's not franchise, but it's a piece of the pie situation.
Equity ownership.
Equity ownership.
Correct.
That's the way to put it.
And the reason for that being is, you know, we're going to have an exit strategy for this. And the reason for that is if you look at off lease only, one of the car dealerships, independent car dealership, that had, I think, 3 locations. They sold for like $120-something million, you know. I just want a piece of that pie, man. You know,
Is this like another Grant Motors play?
No, off lease only was bigger. They sold a lot of damaged like Carfax cars and stuff, but they were killing everybody's prices. I'm not at that position yet to attack that market. Hopefully soon. But we're just playing it day by day now on the controlled growth. That's one thing I've learned now with all this experience. Controlled growth. Could I be bigger right now? Could I do more? 100%. But I'm staying on my controlled growth path of my plan, my goals, and my vision, because I know that if I stick to the plan strategically, it'll get there. And if I rush and I throw too much and I do this and I try to do this, and if I don't have it structured and the foundation laid out like we were talking earlier, it's going to crumble. And this is not crumbling because this is my exit plan. This is my exit plan to bigger and better things.
What do you think about AI in today's market? Your business.
Yeah, I like AI. I have some things with AI going on right now. Far as, you know, my voice bot or something like that for answering calls and stuff like that for times I don't want to answer. But as far as that, I don't have too much to dive in on that at the moment.
So you're at the early stages.
Correct. Yeah.
A lot of us are.
Yeah.
I am.
Yeah.
You know, but I feel like it is the thing that'll differentiate businesses, you know, from the ones that ain't got it, the ones that do have it.
Yeah, it could definitely. Again, it's one of those things that you just never know until you try it. And if you don't have the knowledge, that's one thing that anybody who has interest in should just do the knowledge. Do the research and, you know, find out how to get the knowledge to do what you need to do to be successful on that.
Got it. Well, Jake, I appreciate it. Do you have a phone number, email that you'd like to put out there?
info@udriveapproves.com, 239-834-8400. Hit us up. We do buy here, pay here. Cash cards starting at $39.99 all the way up to $20,000.
Love it. I appreciate it. Thank you for coming.
Appreciate you, brother.
That's all, brother.